But yes, I'm actually very undersized.
Does it still hurt?
Yes.
For the women in the audience, is that kind of true to you? Do you guys have different size vaginas, or have you guys experienced that?
Different angles.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean, angles?
I have a unicorn uterus, and so my vagina goes the opposite direction as everyone else, like the normal.
Like a curved penis?
Kind of, yeah. Me too.
Oh yes, we got some questions here.
Yes, unicorn vaginas.
So, for the straight man, does size matter with the female?
Hail.
Of the vagina?
Yeah.
You don't want a gaping vagina.
I mean, have you
Don't
experienced
say
a gaping vagina?
Or do you? Or do you?
No, but have you ever noticed like tightness or looseness of a vagina? Is that really even
Yes.
a thing? Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, according to my trick, I'm much tighter than his girlfriend's vagina.
Did you say trick? Are you talking about Grindr?
So in terms of noticing, like, yeah, I mean, but I also, as an average sized male, anywhere from like 5 to 6 inches, depending, like, measured it.
Depending on the
Hi,
night.
Kelvin.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know, like I've always noticed, because for me, in terms of like the confidence and the stimulation and the fascination with oral, is like for me, it became more of this thing of like exploring my sexuality, of like how I enjoy it. Like as I've grown older, learned to like explore like, well, how does my partner feel? Because at the end of the day, in terms of going back to the masturbation conversation, it's like, I can have a sandwich and enjoy myself, but at the same time, is my partner going to be enjoying themselves? Otherwise, what the hell's the point of this? So, it's
That's
more
amazing.
like,
Round of applause. Give it up. Give it up.
Can we just touch on real quick, because I know you guys talk about vaginas, but for real quick on my perspective of size matters, it does, because I have a big ass already. So 2 inches are already coming off of the dick at that point, okay? And riding it is not always the best if it keeps falling out. So, and then plus with my neuropathy, like before my surgery, like, yeah, I still like big dicks or whatever, but now it's like, it has to be big or else
You don't feel anything.
I'm not gonna feel much of it, and I just need you to torture it. Like, give it to me.
So you got to know your customer. You got to know your customer. That's fantastic. Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Questions? Yes. Brandon.
Okay, going back to that other question. So basically, like, how do you know, like, the looseness, tightness, or whatever?
How do you know the
Speak louder.
looseness or tightness?
Of a vagina, basically, from what I understand in science, is that, like, if a woman has a baby, like, obviously expands and it comes back together to its normal size.
If a woman has a baby, so you're saying, how do you know the difference between a loose and a tight vagina? Because obviously babies, women have babies. So, okay,
Yeah.
Calvin, what do you got?
so in terms of, at least in my experience of that, like it does heal, and it's also something that is different, but also at the same time, as a straight guy, it's like if you have a different shade of nail polish, in my case, I guess, it's like, well, if I like you and like this is going to be something that we're going to be doing together, then this is something that we're going to be doing together. It's not going to be like, it's
This guy.
a centimeter.
He is available, ladies and gentlemen, okay? He is single.
Sorry.
Andrea,
Yes.
yes.
Pass.
I definitely want to address that.
Yes, go.
So just FYI, the vagina is very elastic. Yeah. Very, okay?
So is the
So if you're turned on, also it's going to open up. So a guy goes down, it's going to open up and accept the penis as opposed to shoving it in there.
Well, yes, that too.
But let's get down to like real brass tacks, okay? Yes, you can squeeze a watermelon out of your vagina. Yes, but mostly it's gonna go back to just about where it was before. Physically, there are some changes. Yes, there will be some looseness from where it was before, and women can have things like prolapse after a vaginal birth, which is, look it up. And it's not fun, So a lot of women, they go through a lot of sacrifices when they have birth. So you better, hug and kiss your mama. But the thing is yes, there is some loss of that. So some vaginas can be like a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. I think it's different with women with the whole size thing, though.
Sure.
I think the biggest stigma is not the size of the vagina; it's what the vagina looks like. Or I should be very, very particular about that. It's what do the labia look like? That's the biggest stigma. And that actually, I don't know if any of the women here have seen the vagina monologues before. That is a really eye-opening experience to go and see that, because they talk a lot about the stigma that women have based on what they look like.
Girl, I
they don't.
produced or directed the vagina.
Oh, you did? So yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have a lot of bullshit fucking stereotypes about women, and we've all heard it. Fucking roast beef, you know what I'm saying? And you know all the things that they like to say about what vaginas are supposed to look like, because they watch so much porn, and porn.
Paid for the work that you did. I'm not gonna. I have some experience, but anyways, you get paid for the work that you do, and then whatever happens to it after that really doesn't matter. You already got your money now. There is a lot of illegal porn that people watch, where if you go to those janky sites where you get all the pop-ups and then you get a virus on your computer, all that stuff is illegal. And that's a separate issue. That's just like downloading music illegally. But the amateur thing, that's a whole nother ball game. And when it comes to paying for that, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't. People are working; it's their job. I mean, it's just like going to the mall and paying for your shirt. But
so to speak on that exactly, and this is literally a quick bit. I think a very mindful takeaway would be, like most things, whether you're like vegetarian or whether you're like into porn or whether you're like buying shirts, it pays to be mindful to what you are both clicking on, spending your time on,
be conscious, right?
And being conscious of, because like if you're not being conscious of what you are indulging in,
consuming, right?
Somebody on the other end is probably paying like a steep price for your pleasure.
Let's give a round of applause for that. That's well said. Well said. And that brings us to pegging, ladies and gentlemen. That brings us right to pegging.
Can I explain that definition?
What is pegging? Let's get right into pegging. So Divine wants to know what pegging is. Who can explain what pegging is?
Would you like to stare at me more?
Sure, I would love to stare at you.
So pegging is when good reference. Hashtag Broad City. So pegging is when a female puts a strap on and proceeds to have anal or hetero sex. Usually the term is having anal sex with a gay man, but the plethora is out there. Hashtag I'm still on Grindr. If there was an awards for it, I've been known for the #1 pegger in town on Grindr.
Wow.
So let me ask you, Tuesday. So when you say that, does that when you're on Grindr? Because I heard you backstage too saying you're on Grindr. So I was kind of like, what? But like when you say you're on Grindr, what are you looking for? Because it's majority guys.
What's your profile say?
It says, I am a very good pegger. FYI, I really am a chick. And it's got a picture of my mug on it.
And you're pretty popular though, right? Like you get.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Wow.
I have regular fans, yes.
Have you pegged anyone in this audience? No, I'm kidding.
So can I ask you, are you?
It's a very interesting mix because it's gay men who never want me to tell anyone that I've pegged them. It's also a lot of bisexual men who are either like, so I'm just out of this 10-year relationship with my girlfriend and she would never do ass play with me and I'm like really all about it. And they tend to be more like the I'm totally straight bud. And then a lot of bi-curious men.
No, I gotta interrupt. I think that.
Well, hold on. Let's kind of we're gonna kind of keep it up here. But go ahead and finish your thought.
So that's pegging.
So my question was like, do you get a lot of like discreet men like that are down low? Because that's what I get all the time. Or is your preference more
again,
of a gay man that's
mix. Men who very much identify as gay men and like I'll lay in bed with them and they're like, this doesn't make me like less gay, right? Like, dude,
So
that's
let's
when you
talk
have to
about
go to
that.
sleep.
Do you
Let's
reach
talk
out
about
to
that.
them, or do they all reach out to you?
What?
Do you ever reach out to them, or do they always reach out to you?
I never reach out to people on
So what
Grindr.
pleasure do you get out of it, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I have this really awesome strap-on. It's purple.
My favorite
It's
color.
it vibrates, it spins. It's like Bluetooth compatible, so it's like surround sound. So
Mine
we can
doesn't
play
do
whatever jam you want, but it also goes into me.
So it plays music?
Yeah.
Oh, so it goes into you
But it
while
also
you're...
goes into me, so I very much get off
Do you have a
getting
Pornhub
someone
account?
else off.
Is it a lot of like?
Unfortunately, I have a very prominent father who's an attorney in town, so I do not.
Is it a
Okay.
physical pleasure for you, or is it more of a psych?
Well, what she
like,
said was that it goes into
Well,
her
do
as
you get
well.
that?
Both.
Do you get a lot of like mental pleasure out of it? Okay.
Yeah.
So on the... We're not going to talk about offer. So on the topic of pegging,
Learner interrupt.
does it... does pegging make a straight man gay?
No! That's why I wanted to interrupt.
Okay, thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
no.
that. Appreciate that.
Again,
And you were certainly interrupted, so thank you so
I
much.
am a great person, so like
So
I'm like
Calvin,
it's code, baby. You can text me again, but like I get it. Like
Calvin, so this is, I had a question I've been asking
Yes.
a lot of my straight family and friends or whatever, because how you said, does pegging make a straight man gay? So I used to ask this question, I was like, okay, if a straight man and a straight woman are together having intercourse, and she's stimulating his anus, whether it's penetration or just going down on him, does that make him gay? Straight men say yes, because it's like a tendency to be gay. I'm like, but why,
It's so
if he's
ridiculous.
with his woman or a woman, if you can't help what your body is stimulated by. So I would follow it up
There's
with,
nerves there.
right.
Yeah.
So I would follow it up with, okay, well, what if he's tied up and like a man like started going down on him, like just giving him oral pleasure to his penis, like he's gonna get stimulated, his dick's gonna get hard. So does that still make him gay? It's not his fault that his body's reacting to that stimulation. So that's why I always ask. So when she's saying, does that make a straight man gay? I don't think it does. But you know, I think. Yeah, I mean,
I think that's the biggest point. It doesn't matter.
That's
It doesn't matter.
societal.
It doesn't matter.
You just have to like, your body just enjoys what it likes. So if
Yeah.
it's being stimulated, then that's what it is. It just likes it. So it doesn't
So I
make
feel like
you
this goes
stay
back-
straight by whatever.
So I feel like this goes back to even like the first question asked of like, where do you align sexually and also with your gender? This is in that cultural like tic-tac-toe of like, well, I mean, I like this, but I don't like this, but maybe but like it's trying to put an objectification or a definition on something that I think for a majority of us we find as something that is fluid within ourselves, both with the age and time and experiences and exposure changes, because what 13-year-old Calvin liked is not necessarily what 31-year-old Calvin likes. And so also like with different partners I've had have exposed me to different like well, I guess carnal appetites of like, I didn't know I like that.
Buffet.
But it's also you don't know until you have either tried, explored, or given it a chance to either form within yourself or form with somebody else. So like
also known as trisexual. You'll try anything once.
Hello.
And
Hello.
I like to push the limits when I'm with a straight man, especially because they always use me because they want to do the little fancy thing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're gonna try certain things, and if you want to experiment, I'm gonna experiment. So I try to push it as far as I can, and then they start liking it. So I'm like, see, I told you.
All right, guys.
Take
All right,
our
guys.
cookies.
How we doing out there, guys? How's everybody feeling? Feeling good? I think we're just gonna keep plowing through. We got two more like hot topics to kind of get through that have a bunch of stuff to talk about with them. So we're just gonna plow through. If you got to use the bathroom, please get up and do so. How are you guys doing? Good. Good. You guys? Okay. Good. I don't have to pee. So we're gonna jump right into relationships, guys. Let's talk about some relationships. All right. Let's talk about being polyamorous. It's kind of like the new hot trend, if you will. What does it mean to be polyamorous? Before you answer that, who here in the audience is polyamorous? Raise your hand if you're polyamorous.
Two in the back.
Okay, very good. What does it mean to be polyamorous?
What is polyamorous?
Let's talk about it.
Polyamory, as I understand it, as someone who hasn't practiced it, so just giving you a layman's from my perspective. Someone who has multiple partners, but more than just having multiple partners, but someone who participates with other people who have the emotional intelligence to be able to communicate, one, their needs, but then two, their boundaries. Polyamory is having safe, responsible sexual interactions with people without expecting, I guess the word I would use is sort of like a possessive perspective of love, where you are my only person, and that would be monogamy. You are the person who satisfies my needs, and I don't find that from anyone else. Whereas polyamory is admitting that this one person, Brandy, you can't satisfy all my needs, and I don't expect you to. So, I really appreciate how we can hang out and spend time together, but I'm also gonna go see my 10-inch boyfriend.
Hello.
Girls in the back,
I
or
think
people
I
in
was
the back,
just
is
in
that
one of those
accurate?
relationships and I didn't even know it.
Really? Did you know what polyamory was before you got
No, I didn't.
Really?
So this guy that I used to hook up with regularly all the time, and then he started to like, well, we should be more like exclusive, but what he wanted was to still have the opportunity to be with a girl. So he wanted to be together, like we're boyfriend and boyfriend, but he still wanted to have a girlfriend too, and then maybe lead to like a threesome if I wanted to. But he was like, I just want you to understand that I want you to just be mine, but not like do anybody else.
That's not poly, that's just cheating.
No.
Well, what he was telling me though, he was like, look, I want you to be mine, I don't want you to be with nobody else, but I also want to have the option to be with somebody, but I just don't want you to have sex with nobody else. So I tried it for a little bit, but it might not.
That doesn't sound like polyamorous. Because polyamorous is it was a relationship of all the people.
Yeah, we're all parties.
They're all.
No, not necessarily. So polyamory, you can have separate relationships. So like you have most people have like a dominant partner.
Sure.
Primary partner, yeah, not a dominant. Primary partner, and then they have like a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Okay.
They're not going to share that person with the other person.
Right.
That person can have their own boyfriend or girlfriend. So but it just depends. Every relationship is different.
Right.
So real quick, not to
exactly.
like to cut off, but like
so many different variations.
Yeah, like triads or like.
as somebody who's curious to know, like somebody who experiences this, I'm just gonna pass my mic time to somebody who actually is to get their definition.
You're polyamorous. Let's hear from
Bring
you.
it to us.
Yes, so polyamory, or polyam, we are actually, as polyamorous, a people, a group, a collective in many discussions on Facebook. You can find them, you can search them and use the words and stuff that find out all the information they have. Like on Facebook when you're in a group, you have like options to go to the files, and pretty recent frequent questions and things like that are on there. One of the things that we're trying to do is call it polyam and not poly, because of the fact that poly is actually in reference to another race. So that is just to be clear on that subject, polyam. And polyamorous has many different dynamics. So there can be 3, there can be 4, there can be all involved together, or you can have what is considered a meta partner, so the partner in which, so let's say I'm dating you, but you are dating them, but I am not dating them. So that's the type of relationship dynamic that I am in currently. But I have also had times where within that relationship dynamic, that one of the partners has explored elsewhere and it wasn't attached to the other people involved. There's terminologies like kitchen table poly, where, for example, in my particular relationship dynamic, my 2 partners do not sexually interact. And someone said sexually earlier about polyamorous, but it's actually about relationships. It's a commitment to more than one partner, And so, like, kitchen table poly is like them being able to hang out. Them being able, like, when one comes to visit, one is a long distance partner for me. When one comes to visit, he stays in my home where my other partner and myself reside. And we go out, we drink, we eat, we hang out. And it's actually, like, can be very fluid as well in different dynamics.
Once again, give it up. Thank you so much. Thank you.
One question: does that follow like the ethical slut dynamics, or is there a newer
Did you say ethical slut?
Yeah, it's a book. I didn't know if there was a newer publication that was more relevant, or if that's completely different than what you're talking about.
So I'm not really up to what's ethical slut. At least I could be some kind of idea.
It's just a book.
Okay. So I have not read that book.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
I feel like we're combining though open relationship with being poly, and
Right.
and I mean I've always understood when you're poly. I'm not gonna try to mess the word up, but it's usually usually 3 or more. You're all in agreement, and you're all basically dating each other. I think it can be emotional or it can be sexual. I don't know if that's necessarily specified, but I thought that if I'm dating you and we're going to town, but then I'm going to town with him, but you're not going to town, that's an open relationship. If it's polyamorous, then we're all 3.
No, you're misinterpreting that. An open relationship would just be like, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. But I'm also allowed to do whatever I want.
Stuff,
But
right?
that's not what they're saying.
Which is why
Emotional and physical
Because
relationship.
the guy that I was with, he specifically said, I want you to be mine, because he knew we were just hooking up all the time. So he just wanted me to be his, but he still wanted to have the opening to have, not sleep around either, but have like another girl.
But if you're not able to do anything, is that polyamorous? Because I thought, what's the definition of poly?
I don't think it was, but I just
She just defined. I mean, she defined it very well. It's different for everyone, but it's more relationship.
So it doesn't matter.
That sounds more like, to me, and I'm
Sounds
not,
like
I don't
having
know
open
facts, I
communication.
guess. To me, that sounds more like an open relationship. I've always
But it's
heard
not. It's a
poly-
different.
But I think that that's
different-
also through the lens of like being a homosexual, because like for me
True,
the idea
very
of
true.
polyamory sounds nice in the way that like, I don't know, William, to sort of touch on what you were talking about earlier with masturbation. Like for me, I like to get off by myself, and I don't necessarily have like relationships where I have sex with people, but I do interact with people in a non-sexually intimate way. But I try to communicate, like, I like the idea of polyamory in that I'm telling people from the get-go that like, all right, here's my boundary, and these are the places that I go outside of that. But together here with you, I want to experience this, but I also want you to be aware of the fact that perhaps here and there, you know, I have my partner, the one who goes inside me.
Question in the
Next question.
Okay, so then what defines the fine line of cheating between open relationship and
Communication.
Communication, which is our next topic.
What was the question?
The
What
question was,
defines cheating between an open relationship and a polyamorous relationship and just being in a
It's all about
relationship?
communication and what you've discussed with your partner
And
prior
honesty.
to.
From the onset.
Cheating
Yeah.
is lying.
Not, ooh, by the
Cheating is
way.
lying
Yeah.
about it.
What if polyamorous? I feel like that is relationship, which to me, I feel like that would mean that there's feelings involved.
There
well,
are, yeah, exactly.
polyamory is a
Versus
kind
if
of
you're
relationship.
if
But
you're just
feelings
sleeping
aren't
with a
mutual,
person,
like-
that's an open relationship.
No.
I mean, basically,
No,
I mean, could be, but.
No.
If there's no feelings involved, then it's not a polyamorous relationship. Means feelings. Relationship isn't just sleeping. If
Relationship
you're
could be a
just
sexual
sleeping with
relationship.
But I
them,
think you're